I love automation games. I love them so much I made a list about them before I even checked what their name was and called them conveyor belt simulators. That's how excited I feel about them. And if there's another thing that I love, and you know it, it's games with a unique aesthetic. And while I tend to frown when minimalist UIs are used in games that could simply do better, minimalism as an aesthetic in general is one of my many jams. So it should be pretty damn obvious that Atrio, the Dark Wild, would be right on the top of my list of things that I should check out. And the way I acquired this game was quite a journey as well, let me tell you. I woke up, saw it on the upcoming games on Steam list, immediately decided that I definitely needed to try this out, and I asked the devs if they had a key to spare. And they apparently wanted to share this game with the world as much as I wanted to play it, because a few hours later, they had already sent me one. Usually when I get a key, it takes days, but this was the fastest ask/receive ratio I ever had. So definitely thanks for the devs for sparing me a key. So, without further ado, what is Atrio about? Well, that's what I want to know. But at first glance, the game appears to be an isometric survival game with a very mysterious plot. The world has gone dark, literally. Humans are gone, and the only moving things left seem to be like a mixture of animal and machine, except for the deer. Those just became mini versions of themselves for some reason. You play as an android deployed by some mysterious AI in order to restore the stations, and yes, don't ask me, I don't really know what they are either. And the game opens up hilariously as you have to answer a series of questions and you get your head blown off if you get them wrong, just to nail the point of how disposable you are. The answers are some pretty great examples of dark humor, which seems to be the tone the game will be carrying forward. And also, I just have a fondness for games that start with stupid quizzes. Just take a look at NetHide. Or don't, given it never came out outside Japan. Back on track though, once the questions are answered, we are deployed into the Dark Wild, and we must farm some berries to power up a generator, then grab some stuff to power up the station, and then once it needs a little boost, we give it and die. And then our battery runs out and we die. And then yeah, death's kind of a running theme on the game. In most games, especially hardcore ones, death is expected, but here, even if you are the best Atrio player alive, death is still completely unavoidable. It is not only expected, it is obligatory, and the game teaches you to die in convenient places so your next iteration can salvage your corpse for useful materials. It pretty much nails the theme of how replaceable you are on the grand scheme of things. The other theme the game has is Cyberpunk, but in a very weird way. You play as an android who can't really do much at the beginning of the game, but as you complete objectives and upgrade your station, it connects directly to your head to download more crafting receipts. Why doesn't it download it all at once? I don't know, trust issues maybe, but the basic idea is that you're not a human learning so much as a robot being brought up to speed by a mysterious entity as necessary. And then there's the dark part of the Dark Wild. The world is completely dark and you must keep filling this energy generator with the appropriate energy juice so that it can power up light bulbs so you can see things and actually explore. But the perks extend beyond that, since if you are at any place in any time that is completely dark, a bunch of eyes pop up and stare at you really hard until you die. So you gotta remember to keep the generator going or you pay the price. So, while making sure everything is lit properly, you run around, gather stuff, craft it, feed the mysterious computer, and get more recipes to craft more stuff. So far so good, but crafting it out by hand is pretty harsh, especially since eventually you need truckloads of items to craft what you need, and that's when you delve into automation. Automation in this game is pretty straightforward. You craft an extractor, craft some conveyor belts to lead the material where you need it to be. If you need to, you craft some factories in the middle of the process to refine the material, and then you dump them into boxes to recover as needed. That's it. Except for the simple fact that you can use actual wildlife as pieces of your assembly line. Just a little thing really. That little thing is what set Atrio apart from other games though. While in other automation games wildlife is non-existent or extremely aggressive, in Atrio they are half machine, half being things that can be captured and put to use as pieces of your ever-expanding factory. That's not to say they are not aggressive, they are in fact very aggressive and can even show up to ruin your day as massive stampedes, but in the end it's nothing a few stun bombs can't fix. Which brings us to talking about the combat, but frankly, the combat doesn't really exist. That is not to say there is no combat or that it is bad, as weird as that sound, it's just that it kind of doesn't exist. You can manufacture a structure called a stun bomb and you can plant it and then activate it in order to stun wildlife around it, but that's the extent of it really. You can't equip or interact with anything. The best you can do is light up a flashlight to explore, but you can't use guns or jump or do anything other than craft items and place crafted items, so the developers used what they had, and what they had is placing stuff, even if it only feels like an awkward extension of existing systems instead of actual proper combat. But the good news is that the developers know it, and that they plan to update the combat with some cool stuff soon. So let's hope their plans come to fruition then, because this is where I'm ending this early impression kind of thing. The reason for that being that other than a very neat material radar that points you towards the materials you want, which is an inclusion that I hope every other survival game takes notice of, because I hate blindly searching for that one material that I need to upgrade my base. What I talked about is pretty much all there is to talk about Atrio. I reached the end of the currently available story in 80 minutes, and while I can say the foundation the game has established is very solid, there's simply too little content right now for me to even hazard a guess on how good the final product will be. I hope that they expand upon the concept of using wildlife as machines and the dark humor of the plot, since those are by far the most interesting elements, but it remains to be seen just what kind of direction the game will follow. Now if you excuse me, I must catch some mini deer before they poop all over the machinery again.